Hello, good afternoon. It's Friday,
Hello.
the 10th of January.
Already?
About to appoint David Moyes as the new manager following the sacking of Sean Dyche. Seems to be over the weekend, following Sean Dyche being sacked yesterday, and Everton winning a game of football last night, scoring a goal in open play, which is almost unheard of.
17-year-old man of the match.
Yeah, he was man of the match. He was outstanding.
Cracking ball.
Great boy. I thought he was excellent, Armstrong, to be fair. He was him and Beto linked up really well, I thought. And he was at the heart of everything we've done well.
Always wanted the ball, didn't
he? But yeah, obviously onto the managerial side of things, John, because that's the big news, isn't it? Before we get onto that, Darren Ferguson's a beaut. That's all. I thought I'd open it with that.
He didn't put Young on.
He could have put 30 Peterborough players on. They wouldn't have even had the shot at goal. So why he's not put Tyler Young on? But there you go. Back to Everton. Yeah. David Moyes, what are your thoughts? It's going to be, looks like it's probably going to be a 2.5-year deal. That could be 18 months with an option of another year or whatever, but it looks like that might be it. So what are your thoughts on David Moyes?
It seemed to have been inevitable, didn't it, over recent times. If I'm negotiating it from the club side, for example, I guess my opening gambit is 6 months, lad, end of the season, which is sort of where West Ham started with Potter, isn't it? Yeah. Right? If I'm negotiating on David's side, I would say, well, I want a 2-year deal, plus the 6 months I'm bailing you out now. That's 2.5. You know, it has to be something and a half, doesn't it?
It's got to be, yeah.
So middle ground is 18 months, isn't it? But I want to dress it up if I'm David's side or whatever as longer than that. So if the 2.5 you just said turns out to be 18 months with a 1-year option on Everton's side, I think that's okay. I think that's a reasonable compromise, if you will, because clearly, you know, we were never going to get a man with his reputation and track record, if you will, to just come in and firefight for 6 months and walk off into the sunset. No. So 18 months was probably our realistic minimum. And David wants 2.5, so you make it an option. It's a bit like add-on sweeteners to a transfer deal, isn't it, in some respects? Yeah. If it's a straight 2.5 years, I'm much less impressed. It's a straight 2.5 years because different man, different quality and so on to Dyche, but very similar in the sense of old school manager. Yeah.
I do feel he's a lot more progressive than Sean Dyche.
No, I agree.
Got to say that.
I agree. Beg your pardon. Old school as in wants to be the total dictator.
Oh, okay.
Doesn't necessarily want to work with directors of football, blah, 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 blah. Now, peak David Moyes, none of that matters because he was exceptional. But he also had an exceptional relationship with the guy who had the purse strings in Bill Kenwright, and he's not going to get that here.
No, it is different, yeah.
So, you know, it all leads to it's more towards a short-term deal than it is a long-term for me. But ultimately, it's only about money, right? So, if I'm negotiating with somebody, the longer they want, the smaller the amount of money I'm going to give them. You know what I mean? It might be, as an example, 5 million quid for 6 months, 7.5 million quid for 18 months, you know, that sort of thing, you know, because that's what you trade, yeah? So let's wait and see. But maybe we'll never know, really. Maybe we'll never know. But it's a significant upgrade on Mr. Dyche. That's what matters.
Yeah, absolutely, yes.
And that's what matters. And there's players there he knows. And maybe some of those will end up helping him backroom, whatever, over time. And if he wins loads of football matches, we'll all be happy.
That's all it's about. So we've got to get better than the 15% win rate, you know, that we've got now. Ped, you were, yeah, of course,
good man,
professional. You were on your way home last night when the news broke. I mean, it was the news we've been waiting for confirmation of all day. But in true Everton fashion, he waited till you left the studio. First of all, what are your thoughts on the sacking of Sean Dyche? And secondly, what are your thoughts on the appointment of David Moyes?
Yeah, well, it had to happen, didn't it? Because for the 8 million reasons that we all know. So yeah, it feels so long ago that he was actually sacked that I think I'm so past it now. I'm on to the next thing. No, he had to be sacked. Obviously, I don't think there's many people except one lunatic who phoned a radio station that talks about sport and sort of laid the groundwork for people thinking that's how we all felt, which was absolutely crazy. Honestly, someone must have rung. It was definitely a red. It was horrendous. Yeah. Moyes, like loads of people, feel quite safe with Moyes, but I don't want it to be too long term. I'm not over worried about the length of contract because you can get rid of anyone at any time. It's a contract. It protects him financially. Yeah. Nothing else. I worry about Kevin Felwell under this, but no, it's like I've saying all week. I just wanted a plan, and if this is the plan, then fine. If you know, there's talk that Paulo Fonseca's wanted, don't know where they would have got that idea from.
Good manager.
Yeah.
Good work.
So, and maybe that's not for right now, and maybe they're doing exactly what they're doing in Roma, which is keeping their eye out or have plans for a manager in 6 months' time or even in 18 months' time. You know, it's not. They might have designs on someone who's just not ready right now or not ready even in the summer. Who's to say, again, Thomas Frank will go into the last year of his contract in 2026 if it doesn't sign a new one. Who's to say Everton haven't got ambitions of bringing him in 18 months' time? And
6 months' time?
Well, even in 6 months' time, but in 18 months' time, maybe with a year left on his contract, Everton might have laid the groundwork for someone like that to come in. Maybe not Thomas Frank, but anyone else. But they've laid the groundwork. They've put the things in place. I don't know, and I've said this all week, I don't know what these operate like other than what they've done at Roma. But if you get sensible people in, and these people start saying, if you want this kind of manager to work long term, you're going to have to put the groundwork in now. That means a director of football, whoever it is, doing things in a certain way for this manager. Who's to say that's going to happen? But I'm quite calm on it. I'm not going overboard. I think we've still got to get out of this relegation fight. And
sure, Moyes
is probably, if not the best candidate, one of the best candidates. Because the squad is still not great. It's not, you know, but I think I'm quite confident Moyes will do it.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And as long as it's done quick, and he's on Monday morning, he's with the players ahead of the Villa game. Yeah. That's all you want. And he's got people there that he trusts as well, Leighton Baines and Seamus Coleman, who won't lie to him. No. They'll tell him exactly how it is.
Yeah.
And it'll be interesting to see what happens after that. Does he bring a Baines into the coaching department, or does he bring Seamus and leave Baines where he is with the under-18s, and then have designs maybe on bringing Baines into his assistant in the summer or something like that? I think stuff like that would make a lot of people feel a lot happier, because obviously the Carsley line is the one that people have been looking for, that little bit of optimism that it's going to be a long term in one way or another. I don't think, I mean, Baines looks cool as hell as the Everton manager, but it doesn't mean he can be the Everton manager. But who knows, under David Moyes' tutelage.
Interesting, isn't it? It's interesting.
It's not dissimilar. We don't know the story yet to what's going on at Roma, is it? Bring in an old hand, you know, damping down the fires, you know, and so on. Albeit over there they've talked about a change sooner rather than later with Ranieri going upstairs, haven't they? So again, David Moyes would be great to be in our club, but if he wants to be a manager for the next 10 years, then maybe 5. He's still relatively young. He's only just 60.
Well, one of the comments, Hacken, who's a YouTube member, said, I was thinking Moyes is a bit old, but then I realised he's 21 years younger than the American president, and 17 years younger than the incoming American president.
Yeah.
So
he's 61,
You know, Ranieri's 70 odd, isn't he?
That's right,
he's running Roma, and Hodgson was 74. So I'm sure David Moyes is still fit, healthy, you know, still all there. You listen to him, he's good football man.
Shy and humble.
It's clear he knows what he wants, and I like that. And
his standards will be high.
Standards are high. He's infinitely better than Sean Dyche. He's proved that. His record just proved that. So he's an upgrade. He knows the football club. as in not what's going on there, but he understands the Evertonians. Doesn't mind taking.
You don't forget that. Yeah.
Doesn't mind taking you to task on it. Knows what we expect. I don't think Sean Dyche ever got it. Ever. Never realised how big it was. Never realised how to ingratiate himself with the Evertonians. Don't think he ever felt part of us, and I don't think most of us felt he was part of us. Whereas Moyes has done that in the past. And is he ideal? He's probably ideal for now because where we are, but there is the thing, and that this has been levelled around. It still feels a little bit like a stick and plaster, but that is all right if you help the wound heal. You know, Paul Mason once said to me and Ped on a show, the healing, and Ped took him to task on it. You know, and maybe Everton do need a bit of healing after what's gone on over the last 4 years, and maybe David Moyes is the right sort of man to pull a lot of people back on side. Not everyone, because there'll be fans who don't want David Moyes back, but when you look at where we are, where his experience is, the squad we have now, a lot of it does point to David Moyes as a sensible, safe option to drag the club where it needs to be, put some standards in there. And we'll see how it goes. There's not, like you just said, John, just because he's got a 2.5 year deal, these might get to the summer and go, this person's better, and he's long term, and that's it. So thank you, David. There's a big pot of money. He won't be happy about it because he might think he's here for longer. But if he does it,
so we're going to persist with accepting that we piss money up against the wall. You mean?
Yeah, but if
that is pure machineryism.
Okay, then he'll stay for 2.5 years then. So there you go.
No, but
so what I'm saying is if you're going down a route of a young English manager and everything's done,
I agree with all the risk
and
profiles.
all you have to do is sign the contract, and he's yours. He's begging to come, and you just don't follow it up to the point where he then goes and joins another one.
Yeah.
Because your pendulum swung to David Moyes. Well, are you all of a sudden abandoning what was the plan then? So the plan was a progressive manager to develop a coaching style. But we have. So there's a reason why, isn't it? So they mustn't be worried about that option that they may well have to just go, yeah.
I get it. And I think...
I'm not saying this should be... For all I know, they're sold on David Moyes for 2.5 years.
No, I get it. And the things you said at the beginning, which are all about risk management ultimately, and the risk and the Armageddon impact almost, apart from the pride one and all that stuff, of dropping out of this league and starting the new stadium in the championship and so on, even if it's your dream stroke mythical, we go and win every game we ever play and we look magnificent, we do a Man United, we come bouncing back and all that. We've still been down there, and that's important.
No shame we will do that, is there?
No, that's the point. Once you're down there, many clubs dropped out the Premier League thinking we'll bounce straight back.
Of course, yeah.
Look how much money we spent on players. And,
Sure, Sheffield Wednesday did.
All that sort of stuff back in the day, and Leeds and all those, whatever. But yes, I'm just... We ask, you and I, when we've talked about it, we want decisive leadership. So they've been decisive. When people are making decisions, some people like them and some people don't, right? And you're decisive, that's a good trait, as long as it's not perceived as rushing and into things, and like you just said, flipping your ideas around overnight. But even that can be dressed as decisive, right? It's just a money thing. If a contract for 2.5 years doesn't mean you're here for 2.5 years, does it? Okay. I think for me, just as a person, not much, but I'd be happier with it 18 months plus 1 rather than it's 2.5, only because you've got to break that cycle of we've got loads of money sort of behaviour. Yeah. And therefore this guy's just legged us over for 2.5 years, right? Simply because we have a need, we think he's the right guy, and he's out-negotiated us. I'd be much rather we started at 6 months, he started at 2.5 years, we settled in the middle, both sides are happy, neither got what they wanted, but neither have been legged over, right? But that's just semantics and margins and stuff like that. And we don't know what his salary is, and it may be that 2.5 years I wouldn't be surprised 2.5 years he's cheaper than bloody Dyche would be over 2.5 years, you know what I mean? And we're getting a significant upgrade manager wise. So let's see how it comes out when it comes out tomorrow, you know. But yeah, he'll rock up at stupid o'clock on Monday morning. There will be people he knows, and
I imagine
it won't take long before this squad of players know.
Well, I imagine they will be in. They're off today, so they may be in for recovery today, but in general they're off today.
That's right.
They may well be in tomorrow.
Yeah, just to
and
keep
be ready to go on Sunday because they've got a game on Wednesday.
That's right. Yeah.
Now we might give them Saturday off and you report Sunday for training.
Maybe, yeah. Sorry.
And he'll take the first training session.
Sunday is Monday. Sorry, Sunday's Monday,
got a
because I
game,
forgot the game was so soon. Yeah.
So he'll want be on the training ground with them immediately.
Yeah, and he will be on the grass, won't he? So.
No, he doesn't say that. he talks in
Proper.
In a different way.
Scottish lilt, still there, just.
Yeah. Gary Walters, AJ says, I agree with Ped. The best part of not just last night, but the whole season was Lindstrom's backflip.
It was amazing. Very much like Shawn Michaels in the attitude.
Must have been right in front of you.
No, it was like it was in the corner, wasn't it? And I only really caught it out my eye. And
I look at the Gladys Street, you're on the left. Towards the church, yeah.
No, I'm on the other side. I'm on GT5.
Right. So it wasn't right.
No.
Yeah.
But I thought I'd imagined them doing some kind of backflip, but it was people told me they also saw it. So unless we had a joint psychosis, he really did do some kind of backflip, and then limped round for the next couple of minutes. Yeah. But then put the free kick in that got us the penalty.
I saw him for the park. Did he just do that?
Did he just flip? And then we all started laughing.
Was it sliding backwards off the pitch and he just flipped over?
Tremendous.
Because landing on that tarmac, that was exceptional.
David Spowett says he would understand the rationale for Moyes, but it does leave me very flat. There is something in the DNA of this club that seems to inhibit boldness and a desire to genuinely push on, and instead they regress into comfort blankets. This is another example. This is the reason the club has never appointed anyone without an experience of managing in England. I obviously hope he is a success, but an inability to find a quality, viable candidate, for example, a Fonseca, without Moyes' pre-existing baggage with some supporters, does not inspire confidence going forward.
Not true. We appointed Marco Silva.
Who'd managed in England.
We headhunted Marco Silva.
But he'd managed in England.
Yeah, but we headhunted Marco Silva. And basically, but basically disturbed him at his club. So Marco said, yes, he managed in England, but we did go looking for somebody, and we did upset a lot of people doing it. So we don't always just go for the easy option.
But he's right. We've never appointed anyone who's never managed in England. So that's a fact. But listen, who knows? Their idea could be get us safe, keep us up, David. But in the summer, we will pay you another 2 years, mate, because we've got Paulo Fonseca and we want him, or we've got Christophe Galtier because we want him, or we've agreed a deal with Thomas Franco. We've agreed Dino Top. There's lots of names. They might not be. David Moyes might do well, and I might think, well, this is sound. Let's get settled into the new stadium as well before we make. So we'll see. Yeah,
indeed.
Juan says hello, studio. And Chat AJ says he's got grey hair, and I have to say we really don't care. Martin says not everyone's cup of tea, but the right choice in the situation we find ourselves in. He'll bring togetherness and fight while steadying the ship. All the talk of just getting into Bramley-Moore Dock and things will be okay. It'll be far more work than that. 2 years with Moyes, in my opinion, is the right choice. Michael says, I wouldn't mind Moyes on a short-term basis with performance-based promises and add-ons. Watched the tactical video of Terzic yesterday for the PSG Dortmund game. He's one who I would go for. Yeah, Terzic's available as well. But again, these kind of managers will probably be better placed in the summer, maybe, when they've got a pre-season to get everything over, and maybe that's the thinking of the Friedkin group. AJ says, I'm a bit concerned with the talk of a 2.5-year deal, but if you offered me what he did at West Ham, I'd take it, and it does seem like he wants time to build something. Just the deal seems like it should have had an option of an extension. I'm gonna guess Carsley isn't coming in. Don't know, like, but it seems that way. Well, we'll see. We will see. Maybe Moyes wouldn't want Carsley because he might think he'd take his job. Who knows? Who knows? Nathaniel says, Moyes for 6 months is sensible, but any longer would be extremely disappointing. His style of play isn't that dissimilar to Dyche. I distinctly remember West Ham fans calling him a dinosaur, the same way we did with Dyche. Hopefully they don't offer him 2 years. Okay. I think he's far more progressive than Sean Dyche, to be fair. I don't think every ball is just whacked up aimlessly to the striker. Dan says, I get people want a fancy tactical genius. I've been banging on about the Malmo manager for ages, but I think Moyes would be a great appointment. We need someone who loves the club in Gullison's last season. Then we'll see what the future brings. But I bet he wins a lot more games than Dyche.
And that's the point.
It's all that matters.
And if you're the person who's going to be held accountable for the decision, the risk here is lower than it would be with some of those others, even if those others are perceived to be better or higher ceilings or all of the above. Yeah. Which is why I end up with, he wouldn't take 6, therefore 18 months is a good answer. So let's see. We'll find out tomorrow, won't we? So
I think it's 2.5. It's what's been agreed, but it's how it plays out.
Sorry.
Could be 1.
I would present, if it's 18 plus 1, I'm cool with that because the 1 might never happen. Yeah. And if it's 2.5, it's just money to change him. Yeah. And as we always say, if you can get a better player than the one you've got, or someone offers more money for the player you've got than you value them at, then you move them on, don't you? And the same should apply to the other staff as well. Same with director of football. If there's a better director of football out there, and we the owners, want to have that model, and they have it at other clubs, so perhaps that is what they do, then the same applies then, doesn't it? So we'll see.
Yeah. Dan Olsen on the super chat, thank you very much, mate. Just what formation do you think Moyes will use? So he's played some different stuff at West Ham, hasn't he? There's been times he's had 3 at the back. There's times he's played 4-5-1, which is what he played for us.
Sure.
And there's other times he's gone with a real 4-3-3.
Initially,
and Bowen.
Initially, he'll have to play with what the players are capable of. I guess the question is, what players will he want to bring in, or will it be the players Thelwell wants to bring in? And that's the nub of it, isn't it? Because there's a thing there potentially that we've got a manager and a director of football who, in theory, could both leave in the summer still. Yeah. It can't be a 2-year deal. Because he would be leaving in January.
He'd be leaving in January. Yeah. It can't be 2 years, so it's either 1.5 or 2.5. So if it's got 2 in it, it's 2.5.
Whatever it is, it's got a half on the end.
Declan says, feels like a massive cloud has been lifted with Dyche's departure. Need to get busy now in the transfer market. We need much needed pace and some firepower. Michael Pecker Wood says, who's a YouTube member, likes and follows, come on, year of the 100k. Absolutely, mate. Emma says, hopes he makes Baines his number 2 with a plan to be his successor. Evertonian 1977 says, he's got grey hair and we don't care. Davy Moyes. Geordie Troon for life, Newcastle fan obviously, says now Dyche is gone, hopefully you get to see much better football and eventually the real Everton back. I'm pleased for the fan base, as I know only too well what it's like when we had Steve Bruce. Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people were saying Newcastle shouldn't remove Steve Bruce at the time. Just get on with it and all that. Emma, who's a YouTube member, says, we all know Moyes is not a fan of director of football. We also know Moyes has an eye for a bike. Let's hope that's Thelwell on his bike soon. With Kevin Thelwell, excuse me, I think he's in a tricky position here, John, because He's out of contract in the summer. We're led to believe Potter was sort of his leading, which is makes sensible choice for that looking long term. A coach who's going to develop and all that. And it seems the Friedkins have gone against this decision. How sort of weak? How sort of weak does that make his position? You know, he's out of contract in 5 months. If you were in Kevin's position, would you be worried? Because David Moyes is a strong manager, we know that coming in, and B, that the group do seem to have sort of overlooked what you thought would have been the best thing for the club. How weak do you think his position is right now?
I don't think it's any weaker than it was a week ago or whenever, because clearly he's out of contract in the summer and he hasn't been offered a new one. Right? So clearly he's in an assessment period type of thing. If he was pivotal, sounds heavy, doesn't it? But if he heavily influenced the timing of the departure of the manager, and he, as part of that, was providing the replacement, the successor, call it what you will, and then when it was executed, they didn't go with what he said. And clearly, they don't value his judgment. Or they value his judgment less than they value the judgment of whoever brought Moyes to them, right? Because we're assuming here, or you're assuming with your question, that it wasn't his idea for Moyes, yeah? But again, you set the criteria for the replacement, don't you? I thought if you've got, the third party is looking for a chief exec, right? I don't know if the third party is looking for a manager as well. And if they were looking for a manager, I can't imagine David Moyes was on their radar to come in the summer. Yeah, but you've got to run all the scenarios, haven't you? Which is fundamentally these. If you talk about succession planning, which clearly was those phrases must have been used to Sean Dyche because he used them in his press conference. He'd never used them before. You have short and medium term successors, and the short term one is typically the one when something happens, i.e., you just sack the manager. So maybe they had a short term successor to Sean Dyche, and it was called David Moyes. And the longer term successor, i.e. from the summer onwards, is somebody else.
Yeah, possibly, yeah.
If that is they haven't changed their plan, then no matter what gets announced tomorrow, you have to assume if whoever they wanted to bring in the summer remains the same person, yeah, then they'll just say thank you, yeah. Now, clearly, if it's 18 months minimum, then if we get relegated, then he's got to bring us back then, because maybe your new guy won't come. Yeah, type of thing. So all the risk profile around that makes sense. Your continuity in all of that must be your director of football. So the next big thing to see now is what's happening with Kevin Thelwell, right? That's not good for him. That someone who's totally against working with a director of football is now the manager. And this West Ham guy getting banned from their training ground. And no one around here, well, certainly James is a bit young, isn't he? I wouldn't be surprised if we start hearing Thelwell's not allowed at Finch Farm almost, even though that's where
he wasn't banned under David Moyes.
No, I'm just talking about when, either players or the manager themselves, more likely the manager, are uncomfortable with, who's got the hierarchy here, right? But Kevin's based at Finch Farm, right? So him and Moyes are going to have to work together, aren't they? But they are going to bump up against each other, I suppose, particularly in the January window. About David will have short-term views and Kevin will have longer-term views. But if Kevin's the one who, if David's sitting there with a 2.5-year contract and Kev's got 5 months, I'll throw it right back at you. When there's a conflict which the ownership might have to deal with, which one are they going to back? The guy who they haven't committed to beyond June, or the guy that's just appointed for 2.5 years? And you have to assume it's the latter, don't you? So David will hold sway, you would think. So it's all conjecture, isn't it?
Who knows? Gary Brayton says Moyes was sacked at United after losing 15 games with the reigning champions. That was in everything though, wasn't it? Still had just under a 53% win ratio. Real Sociedad win percentage at 28.5.
That wasn't great, that.
when he won 12 and lost 15, could only have players from Sociedad.
That's right, because of the
Basque and all that.
Yeah.
Sunderland 18%. Yeah, it was terrible, and he said that himself. Mind you, Sean Dyche has got 15% this year, but
For us,
you know, let's not split hairs. West Ham 28% for the first time, 29, but yeah, and the second time he had 40, just under 45% win ratio. West Ham second time, 45% win ratio.
Did he win a trophy?
Won a trophy, got to a quarter final. Second time win ratio would put him about 1% behind Carlo Ancelotti's win ratio, and exceeding every other Everton manager for the last 5 or 6 years. So if we get that, we'll be all right. Bain says, don't forget he never had any money to spend like all the other managers that came after him, and he still finished higher up the league than any of them. That is true. Dave Roberts says, on Sky now, signing a 2.5-year deal. Go. Fitz says, good getting Moyes back. I'd go end of the season with him, move him into a Toffee in the summer and work on getting a new manager over the next 6 months. Don't renew a single contract and have a fresh start. Okay. Ray Vaughn says, this club never learns. Kendall returns. We were absolute failures, and he was 100 times the manager Moyes will ever be. No to Moyes. Okay. David says, I believe the offer will be end of season, then director of football.
Don't know why, but hey ho. Right now we're just guessing.
Yeah, everyone's guessing, aren't they? John Vance says, another 2.5 years of going nowhere. That's 26 years of defensive football. Won the second division in the Euro Conference.
I think it's fair that John's in the I don't want Moyes camp.
I think that sort of says it.
Yeah, no, but he's my mate. Isn't he? He's my mate. That's his polite version of it, I think.
Yeah. But that's fine.
But again, when people hear it's 2.5 years, for example, that's based on an assumption that the ownership expect him to be the manager for 2.5 years, and that's not necessarily the case, is it? So we're all, to a degree, second guessing, and you know, it may not be announced as 18+1, but it could be 18+1. I mean, you know what I mean? It's all of the above, isn't it?
Philip, a lot of 16 or 17 associate that squad, they had to have Basque players. There's literally go and listen to any David Moyes interview where he tells you what is expected. Yeah. Not Atletico Bilbao, they're all that. Sociedad are exactly the same. Go and listen to his interview, he tells it, breaks it down for you. Not just throwing mad stats out. I've literally heard him say it on 3 different interviews. Cumbrian Toffee says, whether you like Moyes or not, he'll get more out of this group of players, especially in an attacking sense, than Dyche ever did. Football is fickle, a couple of wins and we'll all be buzzing.
I won't be buzzing just because we've won a couple of games, but I'm happy.
Well, you should be. You actually start winning games.
Well, that's standards are really low then.
But they are. The last manager.
No, I get it. There, yeah. I get it. Yeah. But the first part of that is spot on. This manager will get more out of this group of players than the last one did, because the last one was so far off what it should have been. It's not true, and it's how much of the damage that's gone into that group, because they can't have been very happy for a while, can they? Can be fixed quickly, and how much of it is going to linger.
Diego Borg says, I still don't understand why we sacked Dyche. I understand we had a boring way of playing and weren't getting points, but we were solid. It's
a bit worrying.
Yeah. The whole point is to win games, mate, and he won 3 in half a season. It's absolutely atrocious.
You don't stay in this league drawing games.
No. Whether you like him or you don't, you just have to step back and go, won 3 games of football. That's absolutely terrifying. That's why he was sacked.
Listen, because we talked about, again, off camera, Baz, his, you know, because people talk, and we've done it now, haven't we? James was calling numbers from Moyes before and stuff. Win percentage is the one people talk about, because that's the most important. Winning games. Sean Dyche's lose percentage is identical this season as it was last season.
He's got a lower win percentage.
No, that's the point.
Than Rafa Benitez.
But that's the point. So his losses percentage is like 42% or something. It's almost it's identical to the games, but games last season in the other 2/3, if you want to call it, of win, draw, lose, he's gone from 30-odd win percentage to 15. It's halved. Now, if he couldn't make this squad of players remain as defensively sound, if you want to call it that, as we were last season, and as attackingly sound as we were last season, then he's failed, hasn't he? And that's regression, right? That's going backwards. And so you change your manager. And part of the reason you change your manager is because you believe that this manager, the new one, will get more out of this group than the old one did. Otherwise, you wouldn't have changed, would you? No. So David can do that, and the players can prove it wasn't them by suddenly becoming energetic and being able to pass the blue shirts and stuff like that.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, Dyche still had 90-odd million spent when he was here and didn't do anything with it.
But it painted a picture of, you took my best player off me and I'm just doing my best with what's left.
Anyway, he's gone.
He's gone.
He's gone and it's done, thankfully. We move on. We move on. Kevin Johansson says, hi, you beautiful people. Are you going to make a vid on transfer targets you think we could shut by? Possibly do something next week on them. Now we know who our manager is and who might actually play new signings. Adam says, does it worry you when Moyes was here last month? It was very much his club, where at this time it's going to be a lot of people wanting to have their say. Well documented, they have these problems with senior figures at West Ham.
Don't care what happens behind the scenes as long as the outcomes are okay. That's where we're at, isn't it?
I think everyone at the football club's on a lot more rockier ground than David Moyes is, and
Absolutely.
There's no, he'll be you said it before, he'll be the most secure man in the building because he's got the longest contract by the sounds of it.
Yeah.
There's no, everyone at Everton Football Club right now is, who would the Friedkins coming in, they're all going to be looking over the shoulder because they've all done bad jobs.
Yeah.
They've all done pretty bad jobs.
Listen, we talked about last week, whenever it was, the last Substack article I did on More Than a Game was about what happens next. A place called Start. Marcus Watts is not going to be the executive chair for very long, is he? Right? Anna Dunkel is not going to be for very long either.
No.
Neither of them are operational managers, if you want to call it that. Clearly, they've got to get a chief exec in. Clearly, they've got to strengthen the board and so on. But in a typical change management environment, the people who do the really horrible stuff, changing people or changing people, do their dirty work and then they go away. And then the new people come in and say, listen, everything's fine, I'm here now, blah, blah, blah. And, and if they execute what they did in Roma, they're going to take out significant cost. And ultimately, in our football club, that will include a big chunk of people as well. So people will be in a bit of FUD, aren't they? Fear, uncertainty and doubt. But the last person who got a job there, should have the least impact of that FUD. The people who've been there the longest might be the one with the greatest anxiety because they're the ones who've had the longest tenure, they're the ones who don't know anywhere else, blah, 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 blah. And ultimately, PE-type companies, which is how they may behave, private equity-type companies, how they might behave, it'll all come down to money. It won't be we've got to get rid of 10 people. It'll be we've got to save X millions or X hundreds of thousands or whatever. And the new manager or his assistant and so on, they're going to be the ones with the strongest protection, if you will, because they just literally just walk through the door.
Yeah,
it's not a last in, first out environment at all.
We haven't got a clue, have we? We don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what this plan is. It seems a little bit contradictory than what we've been led.
Which bit?
Appointing David Moyes, it seems to go slightly against what their MO is and what they project as what they want, a young manager, young players and all that. However, so therefore, you look and go, well, maybe this is part, like Ped said, this is part of a bigger plan. And right now,
I really hope
get
so.
Stable, keep them up, and then assess. So that's
I really hope so. And if we talked about it ever so briefly earlier on, well, if their preferred outcome was for a reasonably solid season or remainder since they took over, half a season, where there's no anxiety about relegation, we do or don't have a half decent cup run. Sean's out of contract at the end of the summer. He's the manager on the last day. We finish a solid mid-term and say, thank you very much, Sean. Excellent. And here's your new, nice, shiny, young, innovative, then we'd have gone down, well, that's what we expected. That was the plan.
Yeah.
Well, they've decided, one would assume, that the plan is still similar. It's just not Sean Dyche who's seen it out till the last game of Goodison.
By the way, there is no evidence that he wanted a young,
No, I don't know.
up-and-coming manager, is there?
No,
I'm just saying, because we invented that as a fan base, that we wanted a young up-and-coming manager. There's absolutely no evidence.
That Redexo talked about.
No, I know, I'm just saying, at Roma, there's actually no evidence. They appointed Jose Mourinho as the shock and awe.
Jose, yeah.
So the shock and awe manager. Then they got rid of him. They brought in De Rossi, but De Rossi's not an up-and-coming manager. He's just a club legend. He's got no experience. It would be like us appointing Leighton Baines right now.
I was talking about Redexo.
No, I know. I'm just saying. No, it is. I think it's something we have to stop sometimes and remember. This is something we've created mostly. Is our idea of what we want. Sure, it does have. There is evidence of that's what they want. But they've gone and got Ranieri at Roma for the very same reason as we look like we're getting David Moyes. They want to refresh in the summer. They want to get on solid ground. They want to calm everybody down. They want half of the fan base to go, this is warm and fluffy. I can put my slippers on, enjoy this, and get behind this fella. So I think we have to stop a little bit and go, that thing we've created in our heads, the Iriolas, the Franks, the whoever that is that we all want. It's a business decision, isn't it, at the end of the day? They're very much, that thing still is reiterated in the head of, get to the stadium, stay up, get to the stadium. The difference, I think, with David Moyes is, David Moyes will look at it going, yeah, we'll get to the stadium, we're going to try and get 10th. Whereas we all know that the manager we just gone, someone said it last night, it was great to hear
17th.
a manager say, oh, he was brilliant. Wasn't Harrison Armstrong brilliant? Whereas Sean Dyche would be more likely to say, yeah, he done well, but this is what he has to do. And that's what people want to hear, I think.
I thought Seamus's and Leighton Baines' comments were very interesting.
Yeah.
Never heard Seamus.
Just a couple of the lines, I thought.
What
when
Seamus
people
say?
don't say things and it tells you a million things.
Yeah.
Seamus was just like, yeah, it's footy, and we move on. Now it's about...
Well, Everton's statement's really interesting, isn't it?
None of them seemed arsed in the slightest.
The pre-game soundbite from Leighton was very telling.
Sky asked me about them not thanking the manager, and I what could I say? Listen, I just said, well, yeah, that's weird, because actually he did keep us up, and last season he did all right. It was a bit of a weird statement.
I think it's just because of his behaviour over the last...
Maybe. That's what I'm saying. I just went,
bouncing around.
What do you want me to say? I don't know what he's like behind the scenes. Might have been a nightmare.
Well, I think... compare it... Me and James are comparing it to when Frank left. And when Frank Lampard left. And he had to absolutely be sacked because his results were similar to Dyche. He needed to go. There was all quotes, thanked Frank, there was quotes, yesterday was just Sean Dyche just gone, oh, Leighton Baines, and that tells you everything you need to know.
We talked about it on BWB, didn't we? So?
James Malcolm says, West Ham's positions under David Moyes, 19, 20, 16th, 2021, 6th, 2020, 21, 22, 7th, 22, 23, 14th, 23, 24, 9th, a true dinosaur. Yeah. For anyone saying that, I mean, you'd bite your hand off for some of them at the moment, which just to get us back into
top half ones,
clearing that. Yeah, but the 14th was when he got to the final, I think.
They were busy, weren't they?
They were just, and he got injuries, but then...
They focused on winning the conference that season, didn't they?
Anyway, we'll see. He's got to come in and do better than a 15% win ratio. And I honestly think that a Sunday League manager could do better than a 15% win ratio at the moment. So I think he's all right. But anyway, let's go. Where are we here? But the manager did do, that's the other thing I've said it all week. It was absolutely the right decision to get rid of Sean Dyche. Totally. It should have been earlier. But that you can still have that opinion and still maintain he did a good job keeping us up the first year when he come in the half a year. and he had a difficult task last year with everything that was going on. He handled himself well, and he had to front the football club, and he did it. No one else was talking, were they? Everyone else ducked and covered to get out the way. So he did a job in difficult circumstances. You can say that's no problem with that. And say, you know what, fair play, Sean. This year he had to go. He had to go. We've regressed hugely this season. And it's time for a change.
I mean,
But what, just sorry. I mean, you picked me up on something yesterday when I said on Twitter. I asked the question: did he resign?
Oh, okay.
No, I know, and I know you picked me up. You were right to pick me up on it. No problem with that. But the statement what Paul Joyce said, that was a bit weird, wasn't it?
PR.
No, I know, but that's an interesting line, isn't it? To say for a manager to say,
side, isn't it?
For a manager to say, I've taken this team as far. Now, was he being flippant when he said that? Was he saying, I need more players? So I can't go.
Probably.
I can't go any further with this team. You have to buy more players. Otherwise, what's the point of me being here? I just found that was a very interesting line. And it is PR. Of course, it's PR. It takes away that sentimental nonsense that we get.
It takes away the thing that he was being sacked. That's why.
There's a thing here, isn't it, which is,
Club for myself.
And I've not read Paul's articles because I don't subscribe to pay money to read stories like that, right? But clearly, like a good journalist, he's got both sides of the coin, hasn't he? Because even the tweet about it talks about TFG thought that he'd given up, that sort of thing, right? So it's all of the above. And it'd be interesting to know which order did he get that insight? Yeah? Did he hear from Sean's people and then ask the club what they thought? Yeah? Because the answer to your question is Sean might very well, I've taken this group as far as I can, blah, 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 which can mean I've given up. I can't do no more. Let me out. Just give me all my money and let me go. And yet part of the TFG alleged response to that was, well, we thought he'd given up despite the backing we've given him.
Yeah.
Right? In other words, he was trying to manage his exit. Then you hear the rumour mill stuff about, he wanted to pay the king's ransom to go. And TFG start from, actually, lads, you've been slagging off the brand for the last 6 months. Yeah? You've been throwing people under the bus and all sorts of things. There's a story here that says you don't get anything. And then they end up in the middle somewhere, don't they? Right? So you never get to find out. You just get placed in sight, don't you?
Yeah.
I'm surprised Paul Joyce is the voice. That's supposed to be Bill's mate, really, wasn't it? And if you're getting comments from the club, then it's unlikely to be direct.
I think in that circumstance, though, you use any source you can, can't you? Because Paul Joyce is someone that not only our fan base, but even it's not because he's seen as a Liverpool journalist. It actually help having him in your corner because he gets that message out to a wider audience.
That's more about, I think. Yeah, I agree with that. By the way,
it's getting ahead, isn't it? It's getting ahead of the narrative.
That, but I think that's more to do with the Times as a globally known newspaper and all that sort of stuff. Question for you, right? So you said David Moyes has got to do Bournemouth with 15% win. What's he got to do in your mind?
Win 5 games and get at least 3 draws, and we'll be.
No, as a win percentage, what would you think is fair?
I don't know, because he's got to come in and assess, hasn't he? But he needs to win games quickly.
No. But what do you think's fair? The same as he got last year.
35%.
Yeah, 35%. That's what I would think. That's like 7 wins. That is.
And we'll be more than safe with that.
Yeah, well, that's 21 points on top of what we've already got.
Yes. Comfortably safe.
Just win 3 on the bounce, and it's done. That'll be interesting.
And the next 3 are difficult.
No, that's right.
But also the next 3, going to surprise people.
Well, they are at home. So
2 of the next 3 are.
Yeah.
Oh no, actually, that.
Derby's got to be done, hasn't it?
It's the 11th, isn't it?
They haven't announced anything, have they? They announced one.
Anyway.
Richard
says, I think it's still going to be a tough scrap. Hopefully he can bring better counter-attack and play. Robert says, I'm happy with the Moyes appointment. He's the best guy for short-term stability. We can now spend at least half a year to 18 months finding a perfect manager to help us build the future. I think rushing into that decision mid-season would have been a bad idea. Bill says it makes sense given the squad and our situation. I still think we need a long-term rebuild with a progressive coach, and that place Mightn't be now, but Davey can set us up for that place for the future. Like I say, it's not everyone's cup of tea. You know what I mean? And that's the way it is, isn't it? Liam Walsh, I don't think it's the midfield player, Liam Walsh, but you never know. Says David Moyes is a much better manager than Dyche. Sets up very similar. The whole thing leaves me flat. Okay, worries. Derek says, don't forget Moyes played Baines and Coleman almost as wing backs. Craig B says, can't say I'm overjoyed, but definitely an upgrade on Dyche. Still, my biggest concern is how Moyes uses strikers. Remember how he turned James Beattie into a run-around yard dog. Tim says, just on the treadmill of mediocrity, let's stay mid-table club with no ambition. It should be 6 months probation. If he keeps us up, we'll discuss the future. Moyes believes in his own abilities and he thinks he's the future for Everton. Then he'd sign on a dotted line. Adam says, lots of talk about Thelwell and Moyes, but Bobble said Thelwell had pushed the choice and is happy with that. Evan Viking, one of the commentators on the game last night when I was watching, said the fans were stunned into silence by Dyche's departure and we're all gutted and angry. That's nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
Mate, we had stories back in the last week, early this week. The players loved this manager, so they are all going to be totally gutted now, aren't they?
Everyone was buzzing when I walked in.
Exactly.
There's a weird narrative, isn't there, going around? That's what I'm saying, about club getting ahead of it. There's ex-pros. We've been talking about this all week. Ex-pros seem to think he walks on water, and the fan base just don't feel like that. And as I've said loads of times, sometimes I have to look at other people just to check what other people feel about it. And, you know, I've seen so many good people say that they're so delighted that he's gone. Do you know what I mean? Like,
well, I told you guys, I the 45 minutes with the Bournemouth fans saying, how do you put up with this dinosaur?
Yeah,
they're happy as Larry with what they've got.
People who don't, I'll always say this is what will always strengthen a channel like this, is that you only have to switch on the TV to listen to people talk about them who don't watch Everton. Clearly don't watch Everton. I watched a little bit of the game back last night and Keown was on and Keown's talking and Keown just doesn't watch it. It's so obvious. We went, you know, obviously not being at the game on Saturday, Effin and Koku and the commentator were like, basically, the commentator said, Sean Dyche will probably follow the playbook of Crystal Palace. It was like, we give Crystal Palace the playbook. Once we beat them, they went, yeah, that's how you do it, lads. That's how you get points. It's like, these people do not watch our club. It's clear as day. We haven't been on telly that much this year. And no one's making a trip to come and watch us, are they? We are rubbish. And it's clear as day that these ex-players just go, it's Dyche, he's doing a great job. Utter nonsense. Break the stats down. Look at how many chances we get. It's non-existent. Doesn't matter who it is. Harrison Armstrong playing passes to Bettel last night was like a revelation. Yeah. I was stunned when those two when they were taken off. I was stunned. Like I was like, what are you doing? What are you taking these two off for? They're literally these two are making every chance. It's the first time we've seen Bet. I know it's against League One, but it's the first time a player's played through balls like more than twice in a game. It's like, wow.
Scored a goal from open play.
Exactly. And it's against League One, but it's the fact that we tried it.
Well, I don't know. I mean, me and James were saying this last night, and I was, again, talking to people around me and talking in the car coming over. Like, I hardly remember any straight balls to Beto.
No.
Like, long ball, aimless passes. Everything was passed around. Now, my criticism of what we were doing last night was we don't move the ball quick enough. When we did, we just cut through them.
Yeah.
Sometimes it was too much. It's slow, and that's what you've got to speed up.
Yeah.
But the ideas were right. You know, Patterson was in every time and we were just too slow to play the ball to him. And
that's all it was last night. The football was just too slow.
Too slow, that was it.
Too pedestrian. Yeah. That's what needs to improve. Quick. Have the protection in behind if you lose the ball. Having the free... Like, I listened to the press conference afterwards.
So high up the pitch was like unbelievable. Like, my God.
And asking for the ball.
And giving him it.
Yeah.
You know, even he was stunned. There's no wonder, like, he had a bit of cramp. The lad's like hardly played. He's run up. But Jake O'Brien, apart from running into Patterson twice,
yeah. Yeah.
Jake O'Brien was sound. Passed the buck. Got a great ball through to Beto. Just got away. It was a tremendous pass. Oh, it just shows you players want to play football.
There's plenty of upside there.
You know.
Yes.
Listen, at the end of the day,
let's play a Premier League team.
At the end of the day, it's done, and we move on from it.
Of course.
And that's all that. The narrative can be out there. Sean Dyche's PR people can be out putting stuff out, and he should do that for himself. You expect that, because it happens with so many managers. They all do, don't they? They all play that game. Leave it be.
He can write his book now.
Yeah.
Or 6 books, whatever it is. Yeah.
It is what it is, isn't it? We've moved on. He'll move on, and that's all that matters now. And we've got to look forward. It's done. Let's look forward. We need some plays in this window, that's for sure.
We do.
We still don't know Armando Broja. We don't know whether that's a bad one. It looked a bad one.
Bad, yeah.
But Bain said afterwards he hasn't gone to hospital. So.
He makes injuries look terrible, doesn't he? Run it off, lad.
It's a pity because he's got a lot of attributes that
of course,
I think would really help us. But
no, what annoyed me about that, and I know we'll go in with the final word or whatever, but a player can't be on the ground for a minute in the cold.
Yeah.
Why didn't we kick it out though? Ashley Young had
I
it
know.
and decided to try and clip it down the line to Jack Harrison. Just put it out. But the referee, their player went down with.
Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, that's fine. I had no problem with them not kicking it out, and I had no problem with the referee not stopping the game.
But we should have kicked it.
But no, we shouldn't have. No, I'm sorry. I mean the one day. But ultimately, why can't the physio say to the fourth official, "This is a bad one, you know.
Can I get on?
I need to get on." Tell him to blow the whistle. What if he, like I said last night to me, Matt Jackson, what if that's what had happened to Andre Gomez, right? And his leg in that time, I don't know, they never got on quick enough to fix his leg properly. Because I counted it when we watched it, he was on the ground for a minute in the cold, just being, he wasn't snapped, it was a great tackle actually. But that lad,
wasn't it?
Yeah, he turned his knee.
That lad, you know, who knows what can happen medically in a minute?
Yeah.
So why can't the physio's right there? He can't come on the pitch.
Because he ran up to touchline.
Surely there's got to be something in football where you go to the fourth official. This is a serious one, you know. That's what blew my mind last night. That just going, come on, blow the whistle, mate. Mad.
All a bit mad. All a bit mad. But it is David Moyes, who it's expected to be announced in the next 24 hours. Don't think it's going to be the cars. I think.
Can't he do it on Monday by 1 o'clock?
Yeah. So yeah, there you go. And we need to get some players in, some quick, direct players in if we can, just to freshen everything up. And of course, we will have Tim Boone and we will have James Garner back in the next.
Dwight McNeil should be alright.
Dwight McNeil should be back soon, just to give him options. Shinmitty, hopefully it's not ages.
He'll be back next week, Dwight.
Well, you know we've been linked with a winger today, haven't you?
Newmar again. The big book of
Felwell has been opened onto the Ernest Newmar page. The Nonto on the page is actually stuck together now, so you have to flip past that one. Honest to God, he knows 4 players.
Fair play. Anyway. Like, subscribe, do all that. We'll be on More Than a Game at 2:15.
Take care. Enjoy the weekend.
So you don't have to go nowhere. Stay there if you want.
And we'll be on the final word as well. Just after 3.
We'll be later than 3.
Just after 3.
Anyway, see you then. Don't go nowhere. Get a drink. 2:15.
Don't go anywhere. Get a drink.